In today's marketplace, it's not just about the product or service itself. People don't simply buy what you're selling. They buy based on how they feel about you, the salesperson. Once they've built a sense of trust, then the product or service comes into play. It's this relationship, this emotional connection, that becomes the deciding factor. So as a sales professional, what's your first job? It's not just to talk about features or benefits. No, your first task is to cultivate a relationship of trust and credibility with your prospect. You see, credibility is at the core of successful selling, and really it's at the core of a successful life. Without it, even the best products in the world won't sell. You have to be trustworthy, reliable, and credible, and this takes time and intentionality. The first step in this process is simple but crucial. Separating your prospects from suspects. What's a prospect? A prospect is someone who has a need for what you're offering. They want it, they can afford it, they can use it, and they need it now. A suspect, on the other hand, might have a future need, but they're not ready today. Now, as a professional, you don't want to spend your valuable time trying to sell to suspects who aren't ready. Instead, focus on prospects who are ready, willing, and able to make a decision in the short term. So how do you separate the two? You ask questions. Ask them, what are you doing now? How's that working for you? What are your plans moving forward? If the answer is something like, we're satisfied right now, no money for changes, business isn't great, then you can confidently move on saying, thank you, have a wonderful day. Here's my card, let me know if things change. That's the professional approach. You don't waste your time. You stay focused on finding the people who need your solution now. There's a process to mastering this: how to identify your best prospects, where to find them, how to approach them effectively. But once you've identified them, the next most critical step is building credibility. In sales and in life, credibility is everything. It's your believability, your reliability, and your integrity. How much confidence someone has in you, this is the single most important factor, not only as a salesperson, but as a human being. Think about your most successful and meaningful relationships. Your spouse, your closest friends, your best clients are all built on a foundation of trust. You trust them, and they trust you. And in sales, it's no different. Trust between a customer and a salesperson is absolutely essential. In fact, it's the foundation upon which all successful sales are built. But how do you build that trust? Here's a key principle. You build trust not by talking about yourself or your company, but by asking the right questions. This is how you show the customer that you're genuinely interested in them, not just making a sale. When you take the time to listen closely and truly understand their needs, you begin to build that vital trust. One of the ways I like to explain this is by encouraging salespeople to think of themselves as doctors of selling. You see, when you go to a doctor, they don't just start handing out prescriptions the moment you walk in the door. No, the first thing they do is ask you questions. They take time to understand your symptoms, your history, what's going on in your life, and only then do they diagnose and recommend a treatment. It's the same in sales. Now, a common mistake many salespeople make is jumping the gun. They're nervous, excited, or just eager to make that sale, so they walk into a meeting and immediately start talking about their product or service. Imagine this scenario. A salesperson walks in and says, hello, I'm Jim, and let me tell you about our latest product. That's like walking into a party and immediately trying to win someone over without even getting to know them. It's too much, too soon. Instead, what I suggest is this: slow down, take your time. When you sit down with a prospect, open the conversation by saying something like, I'd like to ask you a few questions and see if I might be able to help you achieve your goals in a cost-effective way. Would that be all right? Now notice what happens here. The tension drops. The customer isn't feeling pressured. They're feeling like you care about them and their needs. They relax because you're focusing on them, not just pushing your product. And here's the beauty of it. You're not even selling at this point. You don't know if they're a prospect or just a suspect yet, so it's far too early to dive into your pitch. One of the fastest ways to kill a sale is to start selling before both you and the customer are clear that a need exists. So take your time. Ask questions, good, thoughtful questions about them. What are their goals? What are their challenges? What's working for them right now and what's not? These questions aren't just about gathering information. They're about building trust, showing that you're there to help, not just to sell. Now, let me give you another key to successful selling: preparation. One of the most valuable things you can do as a sales professional is to prepare thoroughly for every meeting. In today's world, there's no excuse for going in blind. With all the resources we have available, a quick Google search can tell you just about everything you need to know about a company before you walk in the door. When you show up to a meeting prepared, when you know who they are, how long they've been in business, what challenges they've faced, what their achievements are, you're setting yourself apart from the competition. Imagine walking into a meeting and saying, "Thank you for your time. I know your company has been around for 33 years. You've got 270 employees across 12 branches, and your best-selling product is X. I also noticed you won the Quality Award last year. Congratulations." How do you think that makes the customer feel? They're going to be impressed. They're going to say, "How do you know all this?" And you can simply reply, "I did a little homework before our meeting." That shows you care. It shows you're serious about helping them, not just about making a quick sale. You see, trust isn't built on flashy presentations or fast-talking sales pitches. Trust is built on preparation, on asking the right questions, and on listening deeply. The more you focus on understanding your customer, on being the doctor, diagnosing their needs, the more trust you'll build. And once you have that trust, the sale becomes a natural progression. In that moment, your credibility goes straight up, and their skepticism and fear go down. There's this powerful inverse relationship. The more credibility you build, the less resistance they have. In the beginning, a customer may be skeptical, cautious, or even resistant. But as you begin to demonstrate that you've done your homework, ask thoughtful questions, and listen attentively, you'll see their walls start to come down. They begin to think, "I'm dealing with someone who is professional, someone who cares." Here's another key tip. Don't be in a rush to close the sale. Take your time. After you've asked your questions and gathered your information, take careful notes, and then say something like, "Would it be all right if I took a couple of days to really think about what you've shared? I'd love to come back with some tailored ideas on how we might help you achieve your goals." Now, what's the customer going to say? They're going to appreciate your professionalism and thoughtfulness. They'll say, "Absolutely, take your time." This is exactly what happens when you visit a doctor. If the doctor says, "I'd like to review these test results, and I'll see you next week with my recommendations," you'd rearrange your whole schedule to come back, wouldn't you? You'd eagerly anticipate what the doctor has to say. Why? Because they've taken the time to examine you, diagnose your issue, and now you trust that their recommendation is going to be exactly what you need. This approach is the essence of relationship-based selling. And let me tell you, people who sell like this are 10 times more successful than those who just rush in and start pitching. Because at the end of the day, people don't buy from companies, they buy from people they trust. And trust is built over time through careful listening, thoughtful questioning, and a sincere desire to help. So become the doctor in your sales relationships. Examine, diagnose, and only then prescribe. That's how you build a foundation of trust, and that's how you earn the right to make the sale. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful concepts in personal achievement and success, the law of averages. This law is so fundamental yet so often overlooked. In simple terms, here's what it says. If you do something often enough, you're going to develop a ratio of results. It's that predictable. Now the key for anyone, especially leaders, is to understand their ratios. Why? Because success is a numbers game, and when you understand the numbers, you can manage your expectations and your results. Let's say you're in sales and you're new to the game. You start out by talking to 10 people about your product or service. Out of those 10, 9 of them might say, "No thanks, I'm not interested." But there's that one person who says, "Yes, I'll take it." That's what we call your opening ratio, -1 out of 10. Now, at first glance, you might think that's not a very good ratio. But that's okay, because it's your starting point. And what matters is that you've established a ratio. And let me tell you, once you've established that ratio, it tends to hold. If you talk to 10 more people, chances are you'll get another one to say yes. Talk to 10 more, you guessed it, another yes. It's almost like magic. But here's the thing, you don't need to know how it works to benefit from it. Just like gravity, you don't need to understand all the scientific principles to know that if you drop something, it'll fall. The law of averages works the same way. If you keep putting in the effort, the ratio will work in your favor. The more people you talk to, the more chances you give yourself to win. Some people are so busy studying the roots while others are out there gathering the fruit. You've got to decide which side you want to be on. Imagine you and the seasoned salesperson enter a 30-day contest who can make the most sales. Now, you might think the veteran with the 9 out of 10 ratio will win easily. But here's what you do. You make up in numbers what you lack in skill. While they're talking to 10 people and getting 9 sales, you go out and talk to 100 people. Sure, your ratio is still 1 out of 10, but by sheer volume, you've made 10 sales. Guess what? You just beat the pro. This is the brilliance of the law of averages. Numbers can overcome skill, especially when you're just getting started. And while you're running that 30-day sprint, you've got to be smart about it. Maybe you don't sleep much for 30 days. Maybe you cut down on eating or distractions. You're willing to hustle harder, longer, and with more intensity because you understand that for a limited time, you can push your limits and outwork someone who's relying purely on skill. It's tough to beat someone who won't quit, right? Let me give you a scenario. You're bright enough to know your ratio is 1 out of 10. Someone says, well, I'm not as skilled, I'm just getting started. How could I possibly compete? The answer is simple. You compete with numbers. Don't let your starting ratio discourage you, just understand that it's a baseline. Over time, your ratio will improve with practice, but in the beginning, focus on activity. The more people you talk to, the more opportunities you create for success. And once you get rolling, the law of averages will take care of the rest. Here's the critical part for leaders you've got to help your team understand these ratios. If someone says, I'm only getting 1 out of 10, you don't tell them to worry about it. You tell them to focus on increasing their activity. Because here's the truth. Inactivity kills progress, but consistent effort builds momentum. And momentum is where the magic happens. Once you get that ball rolling, the ratios will take care of themselves. The law of averages is also powerful in how it removes frustration. When you know that talking to 10 people will likely get you 1 yes, you stop worrying about the 9 who said no. You don't take it personally. You understand that the no's are part of the game. Every no gets you closer to the next. Yes. That's how pros think. They focus on the long game, not the short-term rejection. And here's the best part: as you keep working the numbers, your ratio improves. You go from 1 out of 10 to 2 out of 10 to 3 out of 10. With each step, you're gaining skill, gaining confidence, and seeing better results. But never forget, it all starts with action. Don't wait for the perfect pitch or the perfect conditions. Get out there and start the process. The more you do, the more you'll see that the law of averages is always working in your favor. So if you're new, don't let the learning curve discourage you. The key is to work with the numbers. Keep showing up, keep talking to people, and let the law of averages do its job. Before you know it, you'll be seeing success that you didn't think was possible when you first started. Remember, activity leads to results, and results are born from consistency. The more you do, the more you get. That's the law of averages in action. Ratios can be improved. Now, here's the thing: you talk to 10 people and you get 1 sale. You talk to 10 more and again you get 1 sale. But something amazing happens after a while. You talk to 10 more and suddenly you're getting 2 sales. What changed? Well, you got better. And that's the beautiful part of this game. Anybody can get better. The question is, who can improve? And the answer is simple. Anybody who tries, that's it. No mystery, no secret sauce, just the willingness to put in the effort. Here's what's exciting: you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. All you've got to do is work the numbers. Your brain is as capable as anyone else's. Your chances are as good as the next person's. But what separates the winners from the rest is the ability to do an ordinary thing extraordinarily well. And in this case, that ordinary thing is putting in the numbers, getting out there and talking to people. Now, it's all about numbers. Life is a numbers game. You've got to know your numbers, keep track of them, and evaluate your performance against those numbers. In baseball, they call it a batting average. And in life, it's the same concept. You keep track of how many people you talk to, how many doors you knock on, how many pitches you make. And here's the truth: if you start paying attention to your numbers, you'll start seeing results. Because what you focus on improves. Now, some people might say, well, I'm just not good at sales, or I'm not good on the phone. Let me tell you a little secret. The fastest way to get good at something is to do it. Get on the phone, start making those calls, start putting yourself out there. The more you do, the better you'll get. It's that simple. You can improve at anything as long as you're willing to put in the work and start putting the numbers together. You'll see your own ratios improve. But it all starts with action. I teach a very simple sales course, and I can sum it up in just 3 points. Ready? Here it is. Number 1, talk to lots of people every day. That's it. Isn't that simple? It's a numbers game, especially if you're new. And guess what? There are lots of people out there. You don't have to worry about running out of prospects or opportunities. The key is to just talk to lots of people. Now, here's what's exciting. Even if your presentation isn't great, if you put the numbers together, something will happen. It's almost inevitable. Let's say your pitch is so bad, you walk up to people and say, you wouldn't want to buy anything, would you? Guess what? Somebody's going to say, well, actually, maybe I would. What are you selling? It's just that simple. If you put in the numbers, things will start to work in your favor. Here's the next thing that happens when you talk to lots of people. You're bound to make sales. Some people buy for the strangest reasons. Sometimes they buy because they actually need what you're offering. Other times they buy because they like you. But here's a little known fact: some people buy out of sympathy. That's right. Some people don't want to see you struggle. They don't want to see your family go without, or your kid miss out on opportunities. If you talk to enough people, you'll find a few who buy just because they feel for you. They'll say, you know what, I'll help this person out. Now, I'm not saying you should aim for sympathy sales, but I'm telling you it happens. Ratios and numbers are powerful. When you put yourself out there and talk to enough people, the odds start to tip in your favor, and something's going to click. So here's the lesson. Work the numbers. Don't worry about being perfect right away. Don't stress about the ratio starting out low, just keep the activity high. The more people you talk to, the better you'll get. And as you improve, so will your ratio. You'll go from 1 out of 10 to 2 out of 10, and then maybe even 3 out of 10. It's all about putting in the effort and letting the numbers do their magic. The bottom line is this: success is a numbers game. If you track your progress, improve your ratios, and stay committed to the process, you'll start seeing results. You can get better at anything if you just try, but you've got to put in the work. You've got to show up day in and day out and talk to people. Keep your activity high, keep learning, and let the law of numbers work in your favor. Before you know it, you'll be seeing progress that you didn't think was possible when you first started. So don't wait for everything to be perfect. Start now, get your ratios going, and watch your results compound over time. That's the secret to success: consistent effort over time. Keep working, keep tracking, and let the numbers lead you to victory.